shut up, you listen to my monkey mouth. There's a companion when you got pun on the canoa route. Hopped in a portal and got in a fight, Elias knocked him out. Bow, Naruto fighting style. Bow, UFC he tapped out. Bow, we win, we get crowned. Monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth.
Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to the Once Woke Up podcast. This is Joshua, and today with me I've got
Nate De La Hoya.
And where can people find you online?
All social medias, you can find me at carpenatum114.
Can you spell that?
CarpeNatem 114, and that's also the name of the podcast, which is Carpenatum. You can find it on all platforms.
And what's the significance of the word carpenatum?
Do you know what carpe diem is?
Yeah.
Seize the day?
Yeah.
Well, carpe noctem is seize the night?
Yeah.
Carpe diem is seize the butt cheeks.
I fucking like that a lot, bro.
And my logo is a giant peach.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Oh, that's fucking wonderful. I love that.
Multiple meanings. So one, it has my name in it, so I was just like Carpenatum, right? So just added an M to the end of my name.
Yeah.
But I feel genuinely that if people were to put the same amount of energy and effort into chasing ass as they did with like everything else they have it going on in life, they would get so much further than where they are now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that a lot of dudes have like an outrageous idea of how like good pussy's gonna be, or like how important it is. Like once you've smashed 250 fucking times, it's pretty much like, yeah, well, what do you actually have to offer as a human being? You know?
So I'm in that category of like high body counts.
Also, I don't have a humongous body count. I've just like done a lot of fucking, and like at the end of the day, like pussy's pussy. Like out of all, like it's pretty much.
So vegetarian pussy tastes better.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then vegan, it's a lateral jump, but it's for whatever reason, like they taste delicious.
Yeah, well,
confirmed.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like just like why like men who have high pineapple intake have better tasting cum.
Apparently, you have to be drinking that on a consistent basis because it takes about a day or two for it to come. You can't just drink it and that night get it.
Yeah, no, it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle.
Like you gotta build up.
Yeah, you gotta be like running your machine proper all the time. That way, it's not like, oh, I gotta like get it to peak performance today. Like, nah, motherfucker, it's a lifestyle. You gotta be ready to rock.
Have you ever had a girl be like, "You taste delicious. You should try it sometime. Like, you should like, wow, you're really good. You should taste it yourself."
I've never had. I've been told that I taste good, but I've never been told to taste it myself.
Right? Because then I have no frame of reference.
Yeah, well, it's like exactly right. Like,
what do I compare it to?
Yeah, it's like the first time you drank whiskey, it was like, wow, that's gross. Even if it's like the world's best whiskey, it's like, what the fuck is that?
Right,
in my
you're
tongue.
not expecting that. Nothing else in this world tastes like it.
That, and it's just fucking disgusting in premise. Like, women are gross, putting our dicks in their mouths. Like, y'all some gross motherfuckers.
Mine's probably the cleanest part of it.
I mean, yeah, like, I mean, yeah, bro, if your dick isn't like top 3 cleanest parts of your body, then like you're fucking up. Like,
for my bros listening, all you need, hear me out, baby wipes. Get the cheese off, and you're good to go. At the bare minimum, just get the cheese off.
Bro, yeah. Well, first off, like, you need to be hitting it with the baby wipes, like, every time that you drop a deuce.
That
like,
too. No, actually, you shouldn't. That's wasteful. Get a bidet. Bidets are life-changing.
I've had a bidet, and it makes me squeal every time. It's like, ooh, I can't do it. I can't do it.
So
I got too sensitive a little asshole. Maybe I'm just like, I don't know. It's too much for me. Way too much for me.
Can I tell you a joke that
Absolutely.
I tell on stage?
Yes.
Okay. There's 2 parts of the premise before I get to the second one. So, I asked the crowd if anybody here are dog owners. Like, does anybody have an animal in their house? And it's to ask, like, isn't it crazy how they always jump on the bed right when you're fucking, right? And at first, they like lick your toes, and you're like, stop it. But now it's the only way you can come.
Oh my god, shut the fuck up.
Like, they're licking you like, what are you doing, stepdog? Okay. Then from that joke, I go and talked about, like, has anybody gotten a bidet ever? It's life-changing. Like, sometimes I don't even have to take a shit. I just be sitting on it and just pressurized nozzle just hitting my beehole with some water. Like, what are you doing, step toilet?
Oh my
So it's
god.
a little callback to that one.
Fuck you, dude.
I love that one.
That's fucking gross.
It's fantastic.
That's so fucking gross,
Jokes
bro.
aside, it's the cleanest my butthole has ever been.
I mean, I co-sign. Like, I co-sign having a clean ass, bro. Like, that's like you're never gonna hear me talking shit about you having a clean ass. Like,
Especially in this heat, dude.
oh yeah, bro. Like, because yeah, you're guaranteed swampiness if you're going outside in the heat in Texas. Like, that's just fucking par for the course, dog. So you got to take your hygiene serious. Got to take your hygiene serious, bro. You walking around musky, bro? Like, that's gross. Like, it's impolite. It's impolite to the people around you.
Do you floss?
No, I don't. But I also fucking rinse my mouth with mouth rinse like twice a day at least.
Crazy statistics, but if you don't floss, you are 80% more likely to have like heart attack and heart complications. 80%
I think that there's probably just a linear relationship between like,
mouth health and overall.
yeah, like if you're not putting in the work to like maintain your mouth, like if you're like down to walk around with a stinky mouth, like then chances are you're probably putting that same degree of effort and commitment into the maintenance of everything else, like your cardiovascular health. Like the same people who like have stinky breath are walking around like smelling gross with stinky balls, like they're not doing cardio. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not going,
No,
they're not doing,
absolutely.
they're not doing push-ups, sit-ups, and squats. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, I think that that's probably just an indicator of like some people just aren't good at maintaining homeostasis, period. And like they just happen to be like a real strong linear relationship between those two.
That's why I like
But
bringing
also, I don't floss, and so I'm not trying to be like in that category.
No,
I'm
for
like,
sure.
I'm one of the 20% who's not gonna fucking die that way, man.
The reason I bring it up is because it's such a small habit that makes a huge impact statistically. I think it has something to do with the plaque. I don't know. Whoever used this fucking
They say that there's a similarity to the plaque in your heart and the plaque on your teeth.
something like that, but this could have been Scientologists. I don't know. I just remember hearing that statistic and being like, "Holy shit!"
It's an interesting thought.
So the idea that something that you can do is so small and almost irrelevant, but it could benefit you in like a traumatic way.
Yeah.
Or not a traumatic way, but a dramatic way, like
Yeah.
for the better.
Absolutely. So, your podcast, what's it about?
I like it. Let's see. I like to describe it as in the self-improvement, motivation, inspirational kind of.
Is it just
things. No, I do a bunch of interviews. I've been interviewing a lot of comics, but I've also gotten to interview a psychic medium, a producer, a famous artist who has like millions of streams on Spotify. I've gotten to just talk to a lot of really cool people. This one doctor who was like super into like physical health and like homeostasis and binaural beats, super dope. So I do solo episodes where it's just kind of like me riffing on a topic, something as like, you know, set goals for yourself, set smart goals.
Yeah, well, like at that
stuff
point,
like
you have content. Like if you don't have someone to come in, like you're still going to have content pumping out. So
Yeah.
you're having that consistency over time.
Yeah, it's a hybrid of like mix.
Yeah, and so that's really dope, man. And that's really cool that like you're oriented in a way that's like supposed to be good for people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I fell into like personal development after being super like emo in high school and as a kid, just very nihilistic, just kind of the world didn't matter, nothing was good, nothing like didn't matter. I just wanted to be alone and by myself, and like at one point it was to the point of like self-harming.
Yeah.
And then as I got older, I realized that the energy that was kind of going into the self-harming and the shitting on oneself was just misdirected. Like you could have just put that into other efforts. If I would have done a push-up for every time that I was like wanting to cut myself, I'd be fucking jacked, right? It's a difference in like mindset as well as like what behaviors you're doing. And then when I got into personal development, I was like, this is fucking shit.
Yeah, well, when you're young, you don't have the like necessary psychological tools to
Yeah.
like.
They give it to you
like,
in a way. Like
Yeah, well, like, but at the end of the day, like it failed you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it failed me. Like, I was in the same category, right? Like, and so the point is that we need to make that more accessible, and we need to have like a clearer path to like at least a general architecture for people's brains, so that we can get people oriented in a way so that they don't have like they know how to direct this. I think that martial arts is a really, really good one. I think that martial arts is a really, really excellent way to direct that type of energy.
for sure, for kinetic energy and to like actually get the physical movements out of you.
Yeah, well, and like beyond that, like if you have any aggression built up, that's going to be gone. And also, it's one of those things that's like if you're like rolling around doing jiu-jitsu, right? You don't have time to think about what was going on yesterday, and you don't have time to think about what's going to go on tomorrow. So like
Puts you in the moment.
Exactly, right? Like depression lives in the past and anxiety lives in the future, right? And like right here, right now, if you're emphatically right here, right now, you can see the face of God in the lead of a pencil. And that's the flow state, the Zen state that you're not anxious or depressed whenever you're getting your ass kicked on the mat. You know what I'm saying? And before long, that starts to branch out beyond. And it's just one way, right? Like, I'm not saying it's like the be all end all, but
no, but it's a very good tool, and it's been used for thousands of years. Even like philosophers used to.
Yeah.
One philosopher specifically used to, like, if he didn't like your opinion, he's like, I'll wrestle you for it, because he was just really fucking burly and wanted to wrestle.
yeah, there's a lot of dudes like that. I mean, Plato was a wrestler.
Might have been Plato.
It may have been Plato. But either way, like, there's a lot of dudes like that. There's a pretty strong linear relationship, like, between having a strong mind and a strong body. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you've got the fortitude to develop one, then you've probably got the fortitude to develop the other. You know what I'm saying? And if you have the priority hierarchy that puts you in a situation where you want to improve yourself on one, then you're going to probably, because of that same priority hierarchy, want to improve the other. Like, when you get into the cycle of improving yourself, it's not like something that that doesn't apply to everything. Like, you're gonna put it in everywhere, so it feels good everywhere.
I'm genuinely a believer that if everyone was able to heighten their ability to communicate, not just with like the world around them, but with themselves, I feel like we'd have a lot of less anxiety, depression kind of people on medications. Though personally, on medication, fucking works for me and keeps me stable compared to what I was feeling before. But I do see like an uprise of people just kind of being medicated down, chilled, kind of like obedient.
Yeah.
Just really.
I mean, they're fluoridating the water, bro. They're
doing that.
calcifying our pineal glands, man. They're trying to turn us into like nice, easy little sheep to like move around how they want, so that they can calculate profit over the long term.
It's just insane to see the comparisons of food in, for example, the UK versus the same meal here. We have way more corn in our food. We have more like starches and fats and all these other things. And I don't really know what's good for you, but I feel like the less ingredients there is to something that you want to eat, the better it might be for you.
You know the crazy thing about it is that, like, you see stuff like organic, this and that.
It's bullshit. It's just
it's like, bro, that's just how food is in other places. Like, if you go to Italy, you go to the little market, there's no one being like, I've got organic tomatoes. Like, everything's fucking organic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Have you ever seen like an original banana?
Yeah, they're tiny and fucking hard and like...
They have like a bunch of seeds in them.
Yeah, exactly.
So we genetically modified bananas to be bananas, and then everyone's all like, I don't like GMOs, and I'm like, you're not. There's no food on this planet right now.
Well,
it doesn't have GMO.
I think that a lot of people have just like a really limited interpretation of what modifying food looks like. Like, they think that it's like a scientist going in there and like splicing molecules to make it a thing. Like, bro, that's happened through like selective breeding.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like they bred over 200 fucking years bananas that had smaller and smaller seeds, and to the point that like they're non-existent, and now they have to fucking clone them and farm them. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, that's life. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just like they've grown the most profitable fruit, and they've had the most profitable plants be the parents of the next generation of plants, and that's been the way it's happened over generation to generation to generation until fruit doesn't necessarily look the way it used to, and that's natural. We don't look the way we fucking used to.
Not at all.
You know what I'm saying?
We're way taller. We have less hair, well, depending on what country you're from.
Yeah, but I mean, the bottom line is that like macroevolution happens on a what am I looking for? On a generation by generation basis. Like the small little changes happen every generation based on how the species is bred intermingling.
Cultural change happens at a way faster rate.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Should be, especially now with like the interconnectivity of things, like with us being connected to 7 billion people through that camera right there, bro. Like, shit is like lightning fast, bro. It's really, and it's dope. Like, what people don't realize is that like the proliferation of like the internet and the connectivity of people through these like handheld devices to where every single person's connected. That's something that Steve Jobs and them like drug out of an LSD trip.
What if this isn't anything more than just screaming into the void?
I mean,
like, we do get some reaction and feedback, but into those who it's so limited to. We're not talking about like the 1 million plus likes influencers. We're talking about like the 1, 2, 5, 10. It's just screaming into the void.
No. You're putting your flag up on an island, not screaming into the void. Like, and the longer you
But you can make your island bigger.
Well, the longer you do it, every time that you fucking put a podcast out, your island gets a little bigger. Every time you put a piece of content out, your island gets a little bigger. Before long, you've got this big, robust kingdom that you've built, and people will come. If you build it, people will come.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah. That's like what occurs to me. That's like what occurred to me whenever we started talking about this shit. So, have you ever done any psychedelics?
Yeah, tons.
What's your personal favorite?
Shrooms.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so when was like the moment that you feel like you fell in love with them? Like, when was it like, oh, these are like that fucking thing for me?
First time I did them.
Yeah? So what was that like? Tell me about it. I want the fucking juicy details, bro.
So, first time I did mushrooms was at the 420 festival on 420 in San Francisco. And there's a spot in Haight-Ashbury, which is a cross section that was known for like hippies movements.
Yeah.
And they have a section of the park called Hippie Hill. It gets barricaded and blocked off every 420, and it's just a fucking bubble of smoke. People are making hot dogs. People are selling weed, acid, mushrooms, just like everything.
Yeah.
So, a couple of friends of mine go. We meet up with other friends that are there. I eat them in a Subway sandwich.
How many?
An eighth.
Okay, so the first time you ever took them, you took an eighth?
Hell yeah.
All right.
It's a hero dose.
Let's fucking go.
Well, sometimes people say it's a hero dose if you take two, but I took one.
I would gamble. I would argue that 3.5 is not a hero's dose.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I was thinking a hero dose is 2, which is actually what prevented me from fucking killing myself.
I think a hero dose is like 7 or more.
Yeah, 2 eighths.
Oh, okay.
7.
I thought you were saying 2 grams. I'm like,
only every time
I'm like,
did,
man, 2 grams? Like that's like I don't know if I've ever experienced anything heroic on
I
2
know,
grams.
my
Like, what type of mushrooms are you getting?
I know my math, sir.
Got you.
But yeah, 7 grams actually was the dose that prevented me from like killing myself and stopped me from doing cocaine. So
out fucking standing, bro.
it's been over 3 years, like 1,225 days.
Bro, fucking congrats,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
It'll shake you up, man. You like go and like have a communion with the galactic consciousness. It'll be very frank with you about like the things that you're doing wrong.
Yeah, I was on a conversation with somebody while I was tripping, and I was bawling, I was crying, and then I just felt like something told me just like throw it out, so I just threw it out the window, and then I never touched it. It was crazy. So that's why I love mushrooms. So the first time I ended up doing it, I ate it in a Subway sandwich. I bought it off of some random person that was walking around, and it took a while to kick in, but when it did, it hit so intensely.
Because you had it with a sandwich, it was in between all that bread and shit.
My friend was getting a Pikachu tattooed from Pokemon Yellow, like the little digitized, pixelated Pikachu on his forearm, and that was this. I got stuck in a loop, so I kept going outside, seeing my friend, saying something to him, going back inside, seeing him get tattooed, and just kind of doing this loop, and I got stuck in it 6 rounds. And as I was going home, I ended up talking about how I'm doing drugs on my mom's birthday or something like that. Like I was just kind of no, that was the first time. That was the second time. First time, somebody showed me something that I was incredibly scared of, which was, it's around the time of like Slender Man. It was this face with fucking just like blackout eyes and has a white face.
Someone showed you that while you were high on mushrooms?
So I've had a fear of that, and we've been sending each other creepy pastas about that. And my friend was a dick, so he would just send them to me like in the middle of the night, 1 o'clock, or like whatever. He'd scare the shit out of me constantly. So while I was tripping, he showed me the image.
It's very impolite.
It's very, very impolite. And when I closed my eyes, even when I closed my eyes now, I could see it fucking imprinted, but the screen of it, because it was so bright and right in my face, when I closed my eyes, I still saw the face. So, like, in that moment, I saw the face warp and talk and move and turn into something even more scarier than that. And then ever since that day, I've never been scared of it ever again. Like, yeah, it's creepy, but
you saw the
fear,
scarier version of it already.
which I can't even describe. I just saw it just melt into things. And so it helped me conquer fear. It's gotten a lot of hate out of my heart. It's helped me really resolve a lot of ancestral fucking bondages and traumas and my own personal traumas. It's helped me, forgive myself. And
yeah, that's the big thing, bro. You gotta fucking
huge.
Listen, bro. You're absolutely deserving of love.
Thank
like,
you.
Period. And like everyone deserves it unconditionally.
And I believe that now.
Yeah.
But there was a time in my life where I didn't believe that.
Well, I'm glad that you're there, bro. Absolutely. And we ought to be able to forgive ourselves, man. Like we're all trying our very best, right? And like the fact, if you've done something in your past, and you feel bad about it, that's what growing feels like.
Yeah.
Like if you did something in your past and you didn't recognize it as bad and you kept right on moving and it never mattered to you, that's what stagnation looks like. You know what I'm saying? And so people need to understand that, like, when you feel bad about stuff that you've done in the past, that's you now knowing that wasn't as good as you could have been.
Yeah.
And, like, that feeling is there to be a deterrent from you to do that again. And so, like, you're a better person now if you feel guilty for something you did in the past. Like, and that's just the bottom line. As long as people can jive with that and get on with it, then we'll all be good.
Something interesting that my therapist brought up, because I do have to fight with, like, a past that was terrible. I made the most worst decisions I could have made because of, the influence of drugs and ego and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
But while I was recovering, while I stopped doing cocaine, while I'm now in, like, a committed relationship, like, I'm on that right path, quote unquote, my therapist talked to me and said, like, I still feel all this shame. And she's all like, good. Like, the idea is something that shame is there for a reason. It makes you feel like you have to change your behavior because you don't want to feel that same thing. But you don't have to keep carrying it around. You can let it go because it's now served its purpose. It's had so much time. And you feel remorseful and you have changed behavior. So not only do you believe that you are deserving of love, but it's like you've worked for it. This is a fruit. I guess people in, like, AA call it the fruits of sobriety, where you've given yourself presence by maintaining this.
Yes.
So it's better to maintain it
it's
than
a
to
means
relapse.
it's a means into its own end. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, it's its own fucking thing. Like, whenever you do it, it's good because you did it.
It's a stack of cards, though, and it could be as big as you want, but there's only so much that you can do. Especially, like, I've had dreams where I did cocaine, and I woke, and in the dream I regretted doing it, and then I woke up and realized it wasn't real.
Yeah.
But that's how, like, ingrained it was into my
Whenever
behaviors.
I was in college and I was doing a lot of cocaine, I got to college and, like, my roommate was selling cocaine the day I got there, and, like, the fucking first friends that I made was, like, this dude named Isaac, who was the son of the owner of Sonny's BYOB, which was the biggest full nude strip club in Waco. I'm 17, selling cocaine with my buddies.
Jesus Christ.
And the fucking strip club and the VIP of the fully nude bar, fucking having full access to every fucking bottle in the club because it's my buddy's dad's bar. Literally doing cocaine off stripper assholes. And
High five.
yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time.
Good shit.
A really good time.
Okay.
But,
I'm glad. I want stories to be like, yes, they're deplorable, but goddamn it, all right.
yeah,
That's the stories.
like, I did what I did for a reason.
I don't condone it or recommend it to anybody listening now, but fuck yeah.
I'll
dude,
tell you what, I did what I did for a reason. Like, I trust the judgment of my past self. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was doing the best that I could with what I was being confronted with, and I made the best of it.
So what about in positions where you have harmed somebody emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, potentially as well?
What about them?
So what do you do? So in those situations,
Oh, I mean,
where,
well, you feel bad about it, and you use that as an impetus for growth.
how long do you think until you can atone for your sins? So think about like this.
I don't think it's necessary to atone. I think that it's only, like, really.
That's the Catholic in me.
I just think that it's only really. I think it's only really a mistake if you never acknowledged it and, like, didn't do anything about it. Like, but the moment that you acknowledge it and do something about it, you've done your job.
What about
the moment?
So here's a scenario. You got called out for it. This is something that happened in your past. It then comes up to, attention, and then everybody gangs up on you for something that you did years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now that you obviously feel guilty about and remorse, and you seek, like, some sort of atonement because you basically just got shamed by a whole village.
Yeah.
How much time before you go back
To the village?
to the village, to just in general? Like, once you feel like you've been kind of branded or ostracized or, let's say, canceled, right?
I mean, that's.
It becomes a thing where.
I mean, that's on them. Like, if I'm ostracized, that's cool. Like, the hand of God has placed me exactly where I needed to be placed.
It serves a purpose in the end.
Yeah, well, like, even if it doesn't serve a purpose, bro, like everyone's on their own path doing their own thing, and if I'm put out by myself, I'll fucking make the best of being put out by myself until I'm invited back. If I'm never invited back, I'll probably never come back. You know?
It's pretty flow.
Yeah.
It's very present.
Yeah, that's where I'm at, bro. I ain't got time for bullshit, Then, like, but in the moment of the confrontation, I mean, if the big thing for me is whether or not you felt bad, right?
Absolutely.
Like if they were confronting you about something that you had, like, harmed a group of people, and you had never realized you'd done wrong, and you'd never done anything to grow about it, then it being brought up and like you being confronted in that way is probably a healthy thing.
Yeah.
Right? But if you had grown and
stagnant, continue the same
well,
behaviors.
Well, if you had grown and you'd put that to rest, and these people were just living in the past, and they weren't willing to recognize the growth that you'd put on.
That was the other thing that the therapy talked about. Like when I had my previous therapist said that the people who think of you this way are running on old data.
Yeah, exactly.
So if they don't choose to not accept the new data, and the person that you like, he's like, you have grown, you have done better,
you're a different person
you're
today.
A different person
and
now.
If they're not willing to
And-
treat you,
and that person is deserving of love.
Exactly.
And he's deserving of grace. And I was like, Jesus Christ.
exactly, it's a fact, bro. And so if those people aren't willing to recognize that you've gone to therapy, that you've put in the work, that you've felt the remorse, that you've had the natural human feelings to having done something wrong, you've recognized you've done something wrong, you've put in the actual work, invested the time, money, and effort to actually get past it, and they're not willing to recognize it, then that's on them. Like all you can do is continue to show them through your actions that you're not who they think they are. And if they choose to just continue to live in the past forever, that's on them. I live in the here and now. I treat people based on how they're treating me right here, right now.
It's the smartest way to live, and it's the best way of doing it. But sometimes there's things that
It's easier
are
said
within
than
us.
done.
It's super easy. to do.
Easier said than done.
There's things that are just innate in because of our upbringing, where we end up sabotaging ourselves more than others actually are actively trying to
Well, and
sabotage
my
us.
thing about, from the perspective of the people who are bringing you the confrontation, you have to understand that, like, when we're young, we're neuroplastic, and we're, like, creating solutions to problems. When we're old, we're passing every present moment through the network of experiences. And so the older people get, the less likely they are to forget. The less likely they are to go out and go, well, this is the new solution. This is how we're going to work past it. They go, well, this is how they've always acted. This is how I need to act in order to protect myself.
Stuck in the standards that they set.
Exactly. And then those people, the old heads, need to recognize that relying solely on crystallized information in your brain is a detriment, and that you have to allow yourself to create new experiences and new memories and new feelings about people so that you can live with them in the present. Because
They're not going away.
yeah, if you're just passing what someone's doing through the memories that you have of them, then you're not treating them as they are now. You're treating them as they were, and that's a disservice. And
that goes for family and friends.
everybody everywhere. If I run into Joe Biden, and I fucking just pass everything that he says to me through the filter of everything else that I've ever experienced with him, that's a disservice. I need to appreciate and experience him as he is here and now in front of me, and accept the truth that they're offering to me as is like the truth now might not be the same as it was then.
Yeah, are you going to deny a man a handshake?
No.
No.
Well, I mean, if they're doing something truly heinous, but I mean, I think the guy's just a dork. But
but if you met Kim Jong Un and he was passing by and there was no beef, it was just like, oh, you're Kim Jong Un, very nice to meet you. You would deny him.
Probably not.
Exactly.
Probably not. But again, that's because everybody's deserving of love. And again, I think that I do sincerely believe that, like, if we plucked your consciousness out of your body and plopped it into Kim Jong Un and had it experience life through the experience set that Kim Jong Un had, you'd act the exact same way.
If I walked in your shoes every single day, then I would have taken all the same steps that you would have done.
Yeah, because
each person is a representation of you doing what you would have done in their situation.
Bro, we are all one big organism. Like, we are literally one big thing. Like,
separated into 7 billion different people.
well, just think about it like this. Think of us as like individual programs on a computer. Mm-hmm. But what makes us really us is the solid state drive that the program is being run on and that all our data is being stored on.
Which is
the galactic consciousness, God, whatever whatever the sum total of all wisdom and experience in the universe is, it's that. Right? I think the most reasonable word that we have for it these days is God, but I do believe that that's
there's like a mother source, or there's something where everything kind of comes from. I actually think that the latest stage of genetic evolution will be something like, not the Matrix in general, but the idea that all spirit and consciousness can all form together. And I think that once something becomes a god or turns into the physical manifestation in real time, then it just creates another universe and the cycle continues.
I'm telling you, my thing is that that concrescence that you're talking about, that's us right now.
How? We're still in our bodies.
But we're the solid state drive on the back end. It's like how they can prove that prey animals can feel when they're being watched. Like, they've proven with science that they know that they're being watched. Yes. Well, bro, the way that you have access to that information is that what compels you to move is the galactic consciousness. And what compels the thing watching you to move is the galactic consciousness. And so we both have access to all those files in the back end. You're aware of yourself watching yourself.
Yeah.
It's that simple. We're literally one big organism.
Your spirit in a body.
Well, it's what bro. Like we're all just one thing. Like whatever there is, whether it's all spirit, whether it's all energy, it's literally just one energy dance that we're all experiencing, and it's all aware of itself. And we're just experiencing through these meat sacks for the sake of our own entertainment. Like, what's more entertaining? One person looking out at everything, or 7 billion people feeding back into one big thing?
Or hear me out, Avengers Endgame.
What about it?
It's pretty great. No, just in comparison to what's better than that. I was just making a joke.
Oh, fucking... I can't remember Endgame. I watched that high on LSD on my birthday in the theater.
How else would you watch a Marvel movie? It's the best drugs for it.
Yeah, it's just like fucking explosions and neat colors and all kinds of shit.
But I get what you're saying when it comes to, like, understand where you're coming from, I guess, with the collective consciousness. We're all connected to one thing at the root of it, either at the smallest molecular level or at the highest form of existence. It all goes back to one thing.
Yeah, well, I'm it's like, even like you Catholic, the Holy Ghost. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the connection, bro. Like, we're literally connected. Like, the thing...
Do you believe in, like,
resides
deities and
in
the mythology of, like, stuff like that, too?
Listen, bro. I think that the universe is infinite.
So the possibilities and probabilities of it actually being real?
It's absolute.
100%.
Yeah, it cannot not exist. I'm telling you right now, that if you can see a thing in your mind, it's real.
Yeah.
You cannot dream something up that doesn't fit within the realm of what can exist in a universe that is infinite.
Yeah.
You can't, because it's infinite. If you dreamt it up, it already exists somewhere. That's how it beamed into your brain. And so I do sincerely believe that, like, all the points in time exist at a single point in time. So, like, whenever I say, think of me on the beach when I'm 40, and I've got my feet kicked up, I'm drinking a beer, and, like, a beach ball rolls by, right? You saw that with your fucking mind's eye, right? So, that place is real. Like, what makes you on the back end, just went to that place in space and time. And every time that you, like, you know, The Secret and all that shit, and the law of attraction, this is what they're working towards. This is the thing.
Yeah.
Where whenever me and you both just went to that shared point in space and time, we basically put a single thread of light between where we're at and that place. Okay? Well, think of these threads of light as connecting you from where you're at to the places where you can be, right? So, like, I'm going to wake up in my bed tomorrow. So every single thread between now and tomorrow leads to that point, right? And so the more threads that you can put out to a particular point in time creates a path of lesser resistance, and therefore greater probability of it being the particular reality thread that you fall into.
That's a really cool fucking explanation of it. Because from the way I was told about The Secret, it's basically about, like, vibration. It's a law of vibration more than it is a law of attraction. But the idea is that our thoughts emit a radio frequency or an electrical signal. And when we think of certain things, the wavelength changes, and everything has its own wavelength and energy that it gives out, because we're constantly getting feedback from literally everything that exists always. So if we keep that in our mind's eye, and I forget what they call it, but basically the thing that makes you notice things when it's in the forethought of your mind. Like, you get your lip pierced, all of a sudden you see a bunch of people with their lip pierced, because it was never brought to your attention until it happened to you, or until you wanted the red Tesla. Now you see red Teslas everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're able to match the frequency of the thing that you want, it manifests in itself because most likely you're doing the steps that it takes to get to it, hopefully, because you have a point and destination in mind.
Well, the thing is that every time that you look there, right, that beam of light between you and there gets thicker, because it's just one little thread, two little threads, three little threads,
Right.
and before long,
Same
like,
how neural pathways thicken.
exactly, the clearer that path becomes, the more clearly evident the last step you need to take before you got the Tesla becomes.
Right.
And the first step you need to take between where you are and there gets more clear.
Yes.
Right? And before long, you've been thinking about it every single day, and all of a sudden you've got, like, the whole path there in your mind clear, right? And the thing about it is that you don't want to talk about this type of shit with the wrong people. Because
No, they're not gonna believe
if we're right here, right, at the same moment about to fucking throw reality forks off, right? And I tell you beach, and you think of something totally other than beach, guess what? Now there's a 50-50 chance that I could fall into your bullshit reality tunnel. And then I've got to put in the work metaphysically on the back end to drag myself back into the reality tunnels that I want by thinking about what I want and keeping.
You're referencing the tone scale?
I have no idea.
Interesting. So this is something I learned from Scientology. They have this thing called the tone scale, where you're basically, if you're Clear and Tom Cruise, you're always at a 4, which is enthusiasm. It's the highest form of living. And then there's 0, which isn't even death. It's like you're basically old, you can't move, you can't process by yourself, you're just fucking dead, right? The tone scale goes all the way up from like super happy and enthusiastic all the way down to like
basically bedridden
sad,
and dead.
bedridden and dead, right? And something that I learned really cool about the communications of it is that you don't tackle everything at a 4. If someone's at a 2, tackling them at a 4, well, they'll be like, fuck you, right? Because it's too far off. They say to go like 1 to 2 tones up or 2 tones down from whatever something is. So if somebody's exhibiting a certain characteristic like anger, it's not good to match it with anger. You match it with like whatever 2 tones up from that is. There's a whole scale for it.
Neat. I mean, that's a very neato way to conceptualize it, and it's probably a very, very effective way to move about it.
Better your communications. If someone's yelling at them isn't going to be the same thing. You got to like bring it to like a different tone. Calm down the yelling. Okay, now we're talking.
Yeah.
Right? Then you pick it up.
Or you're dragging and barely speaking at all. Let me fucking pick you up a little bit and get you to where you're
both talking and kind of being in flow state.
Instead of you being like, you know. And so I get where you're coming from. It's a neat idea.
But if you go cocaine straight out, people are just like, no. Like,
yeah.
You gotta work your way up.
Absolutely.
Cool little way of like, but yeah, I thought you were mentioning, because you were saying that the tones that you were putting out, like you're setting them.
Well, so here's the thing is that I feel like all these particular schools of thought are oriented towards truth, right? And I think that the truthiest truths are self-evident, and I think that you'll find these schools of thought where they've happened to cross the same truthy truth on the back end as you, and they're just communicating it to the best of their ability. And so like there are times when like the stuff that occurs to me inside will align with stuff that happens out there in the world, because ultimately all these people are oriented at truth. We're all just like in rivers that lead to the ocean, and all those waters mingle. And so I want to
believe that. I want to believe that all humans are inherently good.
Well, so here's the deal. You know, you've seen the Hindu depictions of Krishna with all the arms, like the hundreds of arms. You know what that means? What that's meant to depict?
Every single thing that's ever happened.
The point is that all the spiritual paths that you can take at the end of the journey lead to Krishna's embrace. Like as long as you're sincerely moving about, trying to be good and moving towards like these goals, you're gonna find yourself like in this loving embrace by the Godhead at the end of the playthrough, no matter what.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. Hinduism's dope because it like has the robustness to facilitate every other type of theology and school of thought that'll ever come thereafter.
It's also cool how like their hell realms like move around.
Yeah, well, it's just timescapes. It's a big, neat, cyclical thing.
It's like a multiverse.
Yeah. But at any rate, we've already ran over a few minutes. I know that you have to get going. But, dude, we have to do this again because this got cut way too short. This needed to be 2 hours.
This was a fun episode.
Yeah,
Thank you for having a really cool conversation. And let me just say, as a compliment, ending this conversation makes me feel lighter and better. Like the topics that we covered and the way you were able to speak about them makes me feel better leaving here than I did when I came here. It's pretty dope.
That's the fucking point. And the point is that everybody who's listening is going to get that too. And like
I hope so.
And like I feel kind of silly, because this shit is supposed to hit like love is the answer and shit like that. Like the big answers to life are supposed to hit kind of like a joke. Like it's supposed to be self-evident. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like the jokes being told by God out there in the world, and like people who are coming to this are like people who didn't quite get it. And I'm having to be like, oh, you didn't get the punchline? Well, like, here's the punchline. And, like, they get the ha, but it isn't as, like, good of a, like, spontaneous chuckle. Like, if someone, like, if
I
you
had to explain the
Exactly.
joke.
It's like if you had to explain the punchline to me for a joke, it's like, it's still funny, but it isn't as good as it could have been. That's what I'm doing to people spiritually right here. So it's kind of...
It's working.
Well, I mean, the point is that it's not as good as it could be, but it's definitely better than, like, dying of depression.
Oh, I appreciate that you're putting content like this out in the world.
Dude, let's go. Hey, we'll get you on another one, bro. It's been a fantastic time. Everybody who tuned in, you guys are the real kings here. Thank y'all so much. Peace, dudes.
Monkey mouth. Monkey mouth. Monkey mouth.